Sister 1994, cast then and now 30 years after. They made us laugh, feel safe, and believe family always wins. But what if that comfort was only an illusion? Nearly 30 years after Sister, the real lives behind those familiar faces reveal stories filled with loss, pressure, resilience, and survival no script ever prepared them for. This isn't nostalgia, it's the truth that followed fame. Stay with us as Legends of Black Excellence uncovers what happened after the laughter faded. Watch closely, comment honestly, and subscribe, because these are the stories television never finished telling. Tia Mowry. Tia Mowry entered American living rooms in 1994 as more than a sitcom character. As Tia Landry on Sister, she represented emotional intelligence, restraint, and maturity beyond her years. While the show leaned on humor, her presence grounded it in sincerity. Fame arrived early before adulthood had time to form armor, and that timing would shape much of her life that followed. After Sister ended in 1999, Tia made a deliberate choice not to chase overnight stardom. Instead, she built a steady career through projects like The Game and Family Reunion, favoring longevity over spectacle. Off-screen, she married actor Corey Hardrict in 2008, and for years their relationship was viewed as one of Hollywood's rare success stories. Together, they raised 2 children while navigating careers' public expectations and the unspoken pressure placed on Black women to appear endlessly strong. But how many of us truly know what happens behind the smiles we see on screen? By the early 2020s, cracks became visible. Tia later spoke openly about burnout, postpartum depression, and the emotional weight of constantly holding everything together. Her 2022 divorce was not marked by scandal, but by honesty, an admission that endurance alone is not the same as fulfillment. Unlike many public separations, hers unfolded quietly, framed as an act of self-preservation rather than failure. Today, Tia Mowry works less, but with more intention. She has expanded into wellness authorship and lifestyle entrepreneurship, redefining success on her own terms. With an estimated net worth of around $4 million, her focus has shifted from accumulation to alignment, mental health, motherhood, and balance. 30 years after Sister, Tia's story is no longer about childhood fame. It is about a woman who survived it, unlearned its demands, and chose to grow beyond the role that first made America love her. Tamara Mowry Housley. Tamara Mowry Housley burst onto television screens in 1994 as Tamara Campbell, the outgoing, impulsive twin whose warmth and humor balanced Sister. While audiences embraced her bubbly confidence, few realized how much discipline it took to sustain that image while growing up under constant public attention. Early fame gave her opportunity, but it also demanded emotional control long before adulthood arrived. After the series ended, Tamara chose a path distinct from her twins. Rather than chasing continuous lead roles, she leaned into selective acting, television hosting, and family-centered work. Films like Twitches and appearances on lifestyle programs allowed her to mature publicly without burning out. In 2011, she married journalist Adam Housley, and their relationship quickly became associated with stability and grounded values, especially rare in celebrity culture. Together, they welcomed 2 children, yet behind the polished exterior, Tamara faced significant private challenges. Health struggles quietly reshaped her life. She has spoken candidly about living with endometriosis, a painful condition that complicated fertility and daily well-being. The emotional strain deepened in 2018 when a close family member was killed in the borderline bar and grill mass shooting in California. Grief entered her life without warning, permanently altering how she viewed safety, joy, and purpose. Rather than retreat, Tamara adjusted. She reduced her workload, prioritized family, and reframed success as presence instead of productivity. Hosting roles and limited acting allowed her to remain visible without sacrificing emotional health. Her public image evolved from carefree sitcom star to composed, reflective woman navigating real-world loss with dignity. Now, in her late 40s, Tamara Mowry Housley continues working selectively, emphasizing intention over exposure. With an estimated net worth of approximately $4 million, her legacy is not built on constant reinvention, but on restraint. 30 years after Sister Sister, her journey reflects a quieter truth. Longevity is sometimes achieved not by doing more, but by knowing when to step back and protect what matters most. Jackie Harry. When Jackie Harry joined Sister Sister in 1994 as Lisa Landry, she arrived with a history few sitcom mothers could match. She was already an Emmy winner, already a trailblazer, already proof that black women could dominate comedy without shrinking themselves. As Lisa, she brought glamour confidence and unapologetic independence, an adult presence that gave the series credibility beyond youthful charm. Yet by the time Sister Sister aired, Jackie's career had already revealed a hard truth about Hollywood accolades do not equal security. After her groundbreaking success on 227, the industry struggled to imagine where a bold, aging black woman belonged next. Roles became inconsistent, opportunities narrowed, and visibility no longer came with protection. While audiences still recognized her instantly steady employment required constant adaptation rather than celebration. Off-screen, her personal life mirrored that instability. 2 marriages ended in divorce, leaving her to raise her adopted son largely on her own. Instead of chasing romantic redemption, Jackie made a conscious decision to focus on survival, financial, emotional, and professional. She accepted guest roles, recurring parts, and long-running soap opera work not for prestige, but to remain present in an industry that often sidelines women after a certain age. How many careers survive when the applause fades but the bills remain? What followed was not a comeback, but endurance. Appearances on shows like Everybody Hates Chris, The Parkers, and Days of Our Lives reinforced her versatility. She reinvented herself repeatedly without abandoning her voice, refusing to soften her identity to fit shrinking boxes. Each role, no matter the size, became proof of persistence rather than nostalgia. Now approaching 70, Jackie Harry continues working with authority earned through decades of resilience. With an estimated net worth of around $6 million, her legacy is not defined by one iconic role, but by longevity in a system that rarely rewards it. 30 years after Sister Sister, Jackie stands as a reminder that survival itself can be a triumph, and that staying visible is sometimes the most radical act of all. Tim Reed. When Tim Reed stepped into Sister Sister as Ray Campbell, he embodied a kind of authority television was quietly losing. Calm, principled, and deliberate, Ray was a father figure built on responsibility rather than volume. For viewers, he represented stability. For Reed, the role arrived at a moment when his career was shifting away from easy visibility and toward harder choices. By the mid-1990s, Reed was already respected for earlier work on WKRP in Cincinnati and Frank's Place. Sister Sister extended that respect into a new generation, but it also coincided with a personal pivot. Instead of chasing the next on-camera win, Reed leaned into directing and producing, opening his own studio and backing projects that centered black stories with creative control. The trade-off was real: fewer starring roles, more financial risk and pressure that never showed up in ratings. Behind the scenes, Reed's private life provided the endurance his professional world demanded. Married since 1982 to actress Daphne Maxwell Reed, he built a partnership that lasted while industries shifted around him. Still, creative independence came with costs overhead, staffing, uneven returns. Realities rarely discussed when audiences imagine success. As television evolved, Reed accepted that relevance would look different. He taught, mentored, directed episodic television, and invested in younger voices rather than competing with them. The spotlight moved on, but the work never stopped. His career became less about being seen and more about shaping what others could become. Now in his 80s, Tim Reed remains active in media and mentorship, respected for consistency instead of celebrity. With an estimated net worth around $3 million, his legacy isn't built on spectacle. 30 years after Sister Sister Reed's journey reflects a deeper truth. Longevity is often earned not by staying famous, but by staying useful. In a business obsessed with visibility, he chose influence, and that choice still echoes today. Marques Houston. When Marques Houston appeared on Sister Sister as Roger Evans, he wasn't just comic relief, he was a cultural imprint. Loud, relentless, and unforgettable. Roger became one of the most recognizable teen characters of the 1990s. For a generation, Houston's face was locked into memory before he had fully grown into adulthood himself. Fame arrived fast, and it stayed attached to him whether he asked for it or not. After the series ended, Houston pivoted confidently into music. As a member of Immature, later rebranded as IMX, he achieved real commercial success, followed by film roles in You Got Served and Fat Albert. Unlike many child actors, he didn't disappear, he diversified. Singing, producing, acting, and writing allowed him to remain financially stable as trends shifted. Yet momentum proved fragile. As tastes changed, mainstream visibility narrowed, and his career transitioned from center stage to quieter lanes. The most defining chapter came not from his work, but from his personal life. In 2020, Houston's marriage to a woman significantly younger than him sparked intense public backlash. The controversy overshadowed decades of professional output, turning his name into a lightning rod for debate rather than discussion of talent or longevity. Every response intensified scrutiny, freezing public perception in a single moment rather than a full career arc. Can a legacy built in childhood ever escape the judgment of adulthood? In recent years, Houston has largely stepped back from public spectacle. He continues working behind the scenes as a producer and independent artist, focusing on faith, family, and controlled creativity rather than mass approval. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, his life today reflects financial success paired with reputational complexity. 30 years after Sister Sister, Marques Houston's story is not one of disappearance, but of collision between early fame and adult accountability. It stands as a reminder that celebrity does not pause time. It simply watches as choices redefine how history remembers you. Ron Rieko Lee. Ron Rieko Lee entered Sister Sister during its later seasons as Tyreek Scott, a grounded, working-class presence who brought emotional realism to the twins' world. His performance felt lived in, rather than flashy, offering credibility to storylines about responsibility, loyalty, and young adulthood. Unlike breakout stardom, Lee's introduction was subtle, an early signal of the kind of career he would build, steady, disciplined, and rarely protected by hype. After the series concluded, Lee faced a familiar industry paradox. He was recognizable, reliable, and consistently cast, yet seldom rewarded with long-term security. Throughout the 2000s, he accumulated a dense resume across network and cable television, moving between guest appearances and recurring roles that demanded constant reinvention. Films such as Guess Who and Medea Goes to Jail kept him visible but never insulated. Each job reset the clock, requiring the same audition grind that younger actors often avoid. What set Lee apart was patience. As peers faded or pivoted away, he leaned into craft over celebrity. His later work marked a tonal shift: less youth, more authority. Roles on Let's Stay Together and Survivor's Remorse allowed him to age on screen with nuance, exploring ambition, masculinity, and moral conflict without caricature. Recognition followed gradually, including industry nominations that validated effort rather than overnight success. Now in his late 40s, Ron Rieko Lee continues to work consistently across television and film. He is neither a tabloid fixture nor a nostalgia act. Instead, he represents the working actor's reality visibility, earned scene by scene. With an estimated net worth around $1 million, his career illustrates sustainability without spectacle. 30 years after Sister Sister Lee's journey stands as a testament to endurance. In a business that often rewards volume over value, he built a legacy on reliability growth and quiet persistence, proof that survival itself can be a form of success. Dion Richmond. Dion Richmond arrived on Sister Sister as Jordan Bennett during the show's later seasons, portraying a thoughtful, college-bound young man whose calm intelligence balanced the twins' world. By then, Richmond was no stranger to American households. He had already grown up on television, most memorably as Kenny on The Cosby Show, a distinction that opened doors early but also quietly narrowed expectations. Transitioning from child actor to adult performer is rarely seamless, and Richmond's path reflected that reality. After Sister Sister, he continued working landing roles in films like Scream 3, Not Another Teen Movie, and Van Wilder. Each appearance reaffirmed his talent, yet none fully reset his public image. Hollywood remembered him clearly but narrowly, often through the lens of earlier success rather than present range. As the 2000s progressed, opportunities became less frequent and less central. Richmond didn't vanish. He adjusted. Guest spots on television and supporting film roles kept him active, though far from the momentum many assumed childhood fame would guarantee. Unlike peers who pivoted loudly or reinvented aggressively, he moved quietly, navigating an industry that often offers little guidance once youthful novelty fades. When early success defines you, does it help you grow or hold you in place? By his 40s, Richmond chose distance from Hollywood's daily noise. Without public controversy or dramatic reinvention, his career settled into a lower profile shaped by privacy and selectivity. Financially, his work reflects steadiness rather than excess, with an estimated net worth around $1 million, modest by celebrity standards, but earned through years of consistent labor. 30 years after Sister Sister, Dion Richmond's story is not about collapse or comeback. It is about the long middle, the stretch most careers actually inhabit. His journey reminds us that visibility can fade without failure, and that success isn't always measured by headlines, but by the ability to step away intact from the roles that once defined you. Alexis Fields. Alexis Fields joined Sister Sister in 1994 as Davian Johnson, a sharp-tongued, image-conscious rival who added social tension to the twins' school world. Her presence felt authentic because it was controlled, never exaggerated, never cartoonish. Even as a teenager, Fields conveyed self-possession, a quality that hinted at depth beyond the typical sitcom archetype. Born into an entertainment family, as the daughter of Chip Fields and the younger sister of Kim Fields, Alexis grew up understanding both the access and the limits of legacy. Early work came steadily appearances on Kenan and Kel Moesha and The Parent. Hood reinforced her credibility, yet lineage can be a double-edged sword. Casting rooms often saw familiarity before individuality, and comparison quietly shaped the opportunities she received. As teen roles aged out, momentum slowed, not abruptly, but perceptibly. Rather than chase reinvention at any cost, Fields recalibrated. Marriage in 2006 and the birth of her children shifted priorities, and she made a deliberate choice to value stability over constant visibility. Projects like Jacked and Somebody Help Me arrived intermittently, but the center of her life moved off-screen by design. Fields' retreat was not a disappearance, it was a decision. In an industry that often equates worth with presence, she redefined success as balance. She remained connected to the craft while refusing the grind that had consumed many of her peers. That restraint, rarely celebrated, preserved both family life and personal clarity. Now, in her mid-40s, Alexis Fields lives largely outside Hollywood's daily churn, engaging selectively with creative work. With an estimated net worth around $1 million, her story reflects intention rather than excess. 30 years after Sister Sister, Fields represents a quieter outcome, proof that stepping back can be an act of agency. Not every journey needs a comeback to be complete. Some are finished simply by choosing what matters most. Bianca Lawson. Bianca Lawson appeared on Sister Sister as Rhonda Coley, a sharp-witted, fashion-forward classmate who challenged the twins socially and intellectually. Though her role was supporting, her presence carried weight. She didn't play for easy laughs, she played for credibility. Even as a teenager, Lawson projected confidence and control, signaling an actress built for longevity rather than flash. Unlike many young performers of the era, Lawson avoided the boom and bust cycle that defined 1990s teen fame. Instead of exploding and disappearing, she moved deliberately through television history. Roles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dawson's Creek, and The Vampire Diaries kept her visible without trapping her in a single identity. Each appearance felt intentional, reinforcing adaptability rather than desperation. The industry changed, and Lawson changed with it quietly, consistently. What makes her career remarkable isn't reinvention but restraint. She resisted overexposure, allowing time to work in her favor. That patience paid off with Pretty Little Liars and later Queen Sugar, where her portrayal of Darla Sutton showcased emotional range, vulnerability, and maturity. The role allowed Lawson to age on screen with dignity, exploring grief, addiction, and redemption without spectacle. Is staying power more impressive than stardom that burns out too fast? Off-screen, Lawson has kept her private life largely shielded, a rarity in modern celebrity culture. She built a reputation as dependable, professional, and drama-free, qualities that don't trend online but matter deeply in casting rooms. Financially, her steady output reflects sustainability over excess, with an estimated net worth of around $2 million. 30 years after Sister, Bianca Lawson's journey stands apart. She didn't chase relevance, she earned it slowly. In an industry obsessed with reinvention, her legacy is built on consistency. Not louder, not bigger, just enduring. And sometimes that is the rarest success of all. Dorian Wilson. Dorian Wilson entered Sister as Terrence Winningham, a polished professional whose confidence introduced adult complexity into a youthful sitcom world. His presence was measured and composed, signaling authority without excess. For viewers, he represented a future beyond adolescence. For Wilson, the role was another step in a career defined by reliability rather than spotlight. By the mid-1990s, Wilson had already established himself as a familiar television face. Appearances across Martin Living Single Friends and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air kept him working in an era when visibility often hinged on being instantly adaptable. Yet recognition didn't translate into insulation. Like many black actors of his generation, Wilson navigated an industry where consistency rarely equaled security and cancellation always hovered one season away. As the years progressed, his career took on a different rhythm. Long-running roles on The Parkers and later Tyler Perry productions, such as House of Pain and In the Cut, reinforced his status as dependable, and actor producers trusted to stabilize ensemble casts. It wasn't a meteoric rise, but it was a sustainable path, one built on professionalism and restraint, rather than reinvention theatrics. Off-screen, Wilson grounded himself early. Married long before peak visibility, he prioritized family stability, while Hollywood remained unpredictable. When younger faces replaced familiar ones, he pivoted naturally toward mentorship, teaching, and accepting that longevity would matter more than headlines. His work matured alongside him, reflecting authority earned through experience rather than hype. Now, in his early 60s, Dorian Wilson continues to act steadily respected more than celebrated. With an estimated net worth around $1 million, his story resists dramatic framing. 30 years after Sister, Wilson's legacy is defined by endurance, the quiet triumph of staying relevant without surrendering identity. In a business obsessed with reinvention, he proved that consistency itself can be a career. Rolanda Watts. Rolanda Watts appeared on Sister as Vivica Shaw, a composed, no-nonsense professional who brought adult authority into the twins' orbit. Her presence was brief but purposeful, adding gravity to a sitcom rooted in youth. By the time she joined the series, Watts was already a recognized media figure respected for intelligence, clarity, and command, rather than spectacle. Before Sister Sister, Rolanda had reached a rare peak as the host and creator of The Rolanda Show, a nationally syndicated talk program that blended social issues with empathy, at a time when daytime television rewarded chaos. Walking away from that platform was a defining choice. Instead of compromising her voice to maintain ratings, she stepped back, fully aware that returning to scripted television would mean starting over rather than cashing in on fame. What followed was reinvention through labor. Watts rebuilt her career from the ground up, appearing in dramas such as Days of Our Lives, The West Wing, and The Bold and the Beautiful. These roles carried less visibility but demanded precision and discipline. She also pivoted into voice work, becoming a familiar presence to new generations through Curious George and the Penguins of Madagascar, proving adaptability without erasing identity. How many careers survive after walking away from the very thing that made you famous? Watts's second act extended beyond performance. As a courtroom announcer on Judge Joe Brown and later Judge Judy-style programs, her voice became synonymous with authority and calm. Teaching and mentorship followed, allowing her to shape talent rather than compete with it. In 2024, she was inducted into the Television Academy's Silver Circle, recognizing decades of contribution often overlooked by mainstream awards. Now, in her mid-60s, Rolanda Watts remains active across acting, voice work, and education. With an estimated net worth around $3 million, her story is not one of decline, but of earned respect. 30 years after Sister Sister, her legacy reflects a rare truth. Walking away with integrity can sometimes build a longer, quieter, and more meaningful career. Esther Scott. Esther Scott appeared on Sister Sister as Maddie, a sharp-tongued working-class woman whose presence injected realism into the show's adult world. She didn't chase punchlines. She delivered truth. Her performances felt grounded because they were Scott, specialized in characters who carried weight, history, and consequence, often saying more with restraint than with volume. By the mid-1990s, Scott was already a seasoned professional. Her career unfolded across landmark films and television series, where she consistently occupied the emotional margins, essential, reliable, rarely centered. Appearances in Boys and the Hood, Poetic Justice, Full House, Party of Five, The Steve Harvey Show, and Beverly Hills 90210 reflected a working actor's reality, constant motion without the safety net of stardom. She became one of those faces audiences instantly recognized, even if her name remained unsung. What distinguished Scott was stamina. She accepted the industry as it was, not as it promised to be. As trends shifted and visibility narrowed, she kept working guest spots, recurring arcs, and later roles that allowed her to age on screen with dignity. Her portrayal of Delma Warner on Heart of Dixie offered late-career warmth and authority, while film appearances like Dreamgirls reaffirmed her presence within major cultural moments. Scott's journey never chased headlines, and her private life remained largely out of view. Financially, her career reflected consistency rather than excess, with estimates placing her net worth under $1 million, a sobering reminder that longevity does not always translate into wealth. Yet colleagues knew her as dependable, prepared, and emotionally precise. Esther Scott passed away on February 14, 2020, at age 66 after suffering a heart attack. 30 years after Sister Sister, her legacy endures quietly, in scenes that anchored realism, in performances that elevated others, and in a career defined by presence. Not every contribution is loud. Some are lasting because they were necessary. Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle Union's appearance on Sister Sister came late in the series, but it arrived with purpose. As Shaw, a poised professional moving within Ray Campbell's orbit, Union signaled a transition from light sitcom energy to a more grounded adult presence. The role was brief yet strategic, foreshadowing a career that would be built not on comfort, but on confrontation with reality. Long before mainstream fame, Union survived a violent armed robbery and sexual assault while working at a retail job in her teens. That trauma shaped her adulthood, instilling vigilance and resilience that rarely showed on screen. As her profile rose through films like Bring It On and Bad Boys 2, success came paired with pressure to appear unbreakable. Her first marriage, entered during this period, later ended an experience she has described as seeking safety before healing. How does a person keep performing strength when survival itself becomes the role? In the 2010s, Union reached a new phase: leading, being. Mary Jane allowed her to explore complexity, ambition, and vulnerability without apology. Off-screen, she faced repeated miscarriages while battling adenomyosis, a painful condition that complicated fertility. Instead of silence, she chose candor, sharing loss publicly, reframing womanhood beyond expectation. In 2018, she and Dwyane Wade welcomed their daughter via surrogate, closing a chapter marked by grief with one shaped by intention. Union's later career expanded into authorship, production, and advocacy, especially around women's health and workplace equity. Financially, her longevity and diversification placed her among the most successful from the sister-sister orbit, with an estimated net worth around $40 million earned through persistence rather than overnight stardom. 30 years after Sister Gabrielle Union's story stands as one of transformation. Not from obscurity to fame, but from endurance to agency. She didn't just survive Hollywood, she challenged it to make room for honesty. And that may be her most lasting role of all. Sherman Hemsley. When Sherman Hemsley appeared on Sister as Grandpa Campbell, he carried decades of television history into a single role. Long before the sitcom aired, he was already etched into American culture, his timing, cadence, and authority unmistakable. On Sister, he didn't soften his edge. He sharpened it, bringing generational tension and blunt wisdom that grounded the show's family dynamic. By the mid-1990s, Hemsley's fame was both an asset and a boundary. Iconic turns on the Jeffersons and Amen had made him instantly recognizable, but they also narrowed opportunity. Typecasting followed, and rather than chase reinvention, he chose distance. Unlike many contemporaries, Hemsley stepped away from Hollywood's social machinery, keeping his private life guarded and his public appearances rare. He never married, lived quietly, and allowed the work to speak for itself, mostly through reruns that continued to define him for audiences. What does privacy cost when the world expects access to a legend? In his later years, Hemsley's health declined. Diagnosed with lung cancer, he developed superior vena cava syndrome, a serious complication that weakened him rapidly. He died on July 24, 2012, at age 74 in El Paso, Texas. The aftermath was unexpectedly turbulent. Legal disputes over his estate delayed burial for months, an undignified coda for an actor whose characters symbolized prosperity and control. Eventually, he was laid to rest with military honors at Fort Bliss National Cemetery. Financial estimates placed his estate at roughly $3 million, modest, considering the cultural footprint he left behind. Yet wealth was never the measure of his impact. Hemsley's legacy endures through performance precision without excess, comedy rooted in character rather than noise. 30 years after Sister Sherman Hemsley remains a study in contrasts, public brilliance paired with private restraint. He proved that influence doesn't require constant visibility, and that sometimes the most powerful exit is choosing when to step away. Sister was never just a sitcom. It was a mirror of Black family life that comforted millions, then quietly revealed how unpredictable reality can be. Nearly 3 decades later, its cast reflects every outcome adulthood delivers: resilience, loss, reinvention, withdrawal, and survival. Some found peace beyond fame. Others kept working without applause. A few were taken too soon. Together, their journeys expose the truth. Television rarely shows success does not guarantee safety, and nostalgia often hides struggle. So here's the real question for legends of Black excellence. Does revisiting these stories honor their legacy, or does it force us to confront truths we'd rather keep forgotten?